Good morning. Today we are going to learn about the revolution. There is a revolution which we talks about the United States Revolution. So when we are going to understand the concept of revolution per se, it is necessary to understand certain things which will be coming from the greater understanding of the United States Revolution itself, and what all are the contributions they has been given to the society in general. That's what the important topic which we will be looking at. And especially we know that the European conquistadors, that also Spaniards and these people came to the United States, especially the American continent, and they started destroying the civilization over there. You can see lots of civilization which has been destroyed by the time. Maya, Inca, Aztecs, and even the Native Americans, they stood resistive against the colonial force as well as the colonists. So the revolution of the United States, whether this revolution is only for the people of whites or the African Americans or the women, who all are the contributors of this revolution? That's what we are going to look at, this specific concept, and it is a topic which comes from advanced placement. As we know that it's a complementary to the 11th and 12th syllabus. It's a world history topic which we are dealing right now. So here we know that, if you are a person who is already there in the United States at that particular moment, so will you be a part of this revolution? That's what my first question to each of you as a student. So just understand the concept in that sense. So what will happen? It will encourage you in a very deeply manner so that you can understand the concept. The revolution of the United States is completely very comprehended in understanding, so that you need to understand lots of aspects. There is this historical work, A People's History of the United States, which clearly talks about the complete contradictions of the United States Revolution. And the people used to give lots of apprehension for these great generals and army, continental army, etc. Instead of that, there is a historian called Howard Zinn. He used to explain the contradictory understanding as well as dialectics of the revolution of the United States. And he quotes that revolution of the United States is something not comes from the ideological framework. So the revolution of the US is completely based on economic perception. That's what Howard Zinn as well as Charles A. Beard as a historian used to denote in this context. As we move forward, we want to look at the contributions of African Americans in the United States Revolution. So there is a Rhodes regiment. What is Rhodes regiment? It is the first continental regiment which has been controlled by the United States, and they were the first one who start fighting against the Britishers. Who is Britishers? They are the colonial forces, and if they are the colonial forces should be addressed in that manner. Got it? So then only the revolution comes in, right? So the revolution is not something which we deeply looked at the concepts of something which is very isolated thing. It's something which comes from various aspects of the society, and they need something to be changed. And again, there is a concept, and specifically the historians used to denote that the historical framework of the revolution itself is for the economic well-being. It's not something, as I already explained, it's not something which comes from ideological framework, like the French Revolution. What is the difference between French Revolution and the United States? The fundamental difference between the French Revolution and the United States Revolution is the ideology. We can see indeed in the United States Revolution also you can see that the universal freedom, equality, liberty, these kinds of words are used, especially the ideologues like Benjamin Franklin, whether it is John Adams and Washington. Everyone, these people entirely promoted these types of ideology to get the support from the African Americans. But what happened when the United States become free from the British colony? Colonial forces, what happened again? They enslaved back. So that is the contradictory nature and the dialectics of the United States concept in the beginning itself. Then the Native Americans. There are Native Americans. The Native Americans was not that much confusive or they are not involved in that much of support for the American Revolution, as well as some people supported the Britishers. So there is a contradictory nature, but there is certain reasons for that. Again, there are lots of claims which comes from the these types of colonial forces, writers, etc. that it is necessary to settle down these kinds of places, and quote unquote there are lots of dynamics and dialectics are there, especially the establishment of a state structure, whether it is colonial forces. There are two types of colonial forces. One is settled colonial forces and another one is resource drain kind of colonial forces. We can see the exactly same kind of system in the Indian context. British East Indian Company came to India, and British East India Company tried to exploit the Indian resources. But what happened in America? These white colonial forces, not only white, even the entire European powers started conquering these lands, and they started settling there. So that is called as settlement colonialism. The same can be seen in the Palestinian context also. What happens? These places has been colonized by settlers. Indeed, the Jewish community, really they persecuted from the European powers, especially the Germany, especially the Nazi party of Hitler. But when it comes to the Palestinian cause, again it's repeating. Why it's repeating? There is a Theodor Herzl, there is a historian and ideologue for the Jewish state, Der Judestat, that is the textbook's name. So he proposes a land, a promised land for whom? The Jewish community. So indeed they need to get a certain place where they can survive. Unlike colonial or British or European forces are trying to get upper hand in that regard. Then what is happening right now? We can see that lots of division and such kind of things are happening in the that context. That's a totally different topic altogether. Just I gave a simple introduction in this regard. Then when it comes to women, what is the contribution of women in the United States Revolution? Indeed, there are lots of women who supported the men who are going to fight. And also there is a Abigail. What is her name? Abigail. What she did? She gave a letter to the John Adams. Who is Abigail? She is the wife of John Adams. Who is John Adams? John Adams is the one of the ideologue, the founding fathers of the United States. So Abigail said all women should be treated equally. So it is your responsibility. Whose responsibility? John Adams' responsibility to take care of such kind of narratives in the first place itself. Got it? Then when it comes to land owning white men, they are the foundational reason for the United States establishment. Why? Because they need taxes should be regulated, they need things should be gone very proper hand. Otherwise what will happen? Certain colony will start suffering, especially the rich of the colonies. Who are the rich of the colonies? Adams family, like Henry Lee family. Like there are lots of families who are very much rich. These people needed a separate structure of administration so that they can survive against the British colonial administrative mechanism. Got it? So they are the principal reason behind this revolution. But as I said, it is an economically driven reason. Then when it comes to poor white men, they are getting upward movement in the social mobility, but indeed they also suffered a lot. Got it? And there is a clear mention of this American Revolution as a two-dimensional. Why it is called as two-dimensional? One is they are fighting against the British colonial forces. At the same time, it started a new chapter in the United States history, that is Civil War. So indeed, when 1787, the first United States tried to make a constitution for the United States, we can see that there is no clear mentioning of black African Americans' rights. There is no abolishment of slavery. There is no such kind of things to the social structure. Indeed, there were women, black Americans, they contributed their very much supportive systems for United States Revolution. Then also they did not got. So what will happen? It is obvious that to have happened civil rights. But what happened? There is a political structuring has been regrouped. Why? Black African Americans can ask political rights. It's a altogether a different change which has been happened in the United States. So what you have to understand? You have to understand that the political structure and the way in which it has been changed. So if you are a US citizen, which side you will be? There are 5 constructive methodings are there based on that. So the Rhodes Island, this is the first continental regiment. Then Phillis Wheatley, she is one of the African American slave women. Later she got freed. She started writing poems for the society. That she also mentioned Washington as His Excellency, the General. So it's a kind of promotion for the whites. That revolution in a very good manner. So this much. And James Armistead, he is a double agent at that time. He used to support what do we say, like patriots as well as the colonists and Britishers. Then when Britishers asked for certain intelligence, he lied to them. So what happened? It's changed the concept. So as I said, Abigail Adams' letter, and she was concerned on women's rights. Women were not treated equally. They were not treated equally. So the treatments of equality comes in. So these sort of things. Then especially they used to say abolishment of slavery, equal rights, like abolishment of slavery, like these methods. Like this manner will, and equal rights, especially for the people who did not So once you read these things and all, you will get into the core concepts. Alexander Hamilton, he thought that the people are not capable of ruling themselves, so it is necessary to be involved from that point of view. We can see that colonists and the people who are owning the wealth in a very good manner, and based on these questions, based on this chart, you have to solve these questions. Again, it's a Howard Zinn. He is explaining certain things in history, a people's history of the United States. Based on that, once you read, like rich families are controlling the power, like these kinds of things, what I said. And the Constitution did not portray the will of black society. They are not explaining abolishment of slavery. It is not required like that. They are going with it. So it is the core concept here behind. Based on your understanding, you have to just concentrate on this concept, and based on this, you have to explain even furthermore. Based on that, you can write it. Anyhow, this much is the lesson. It's all about a notebook kind of teaching method. It's an advanced placement position, and it's based on that curriculum. just giving an introduction. Thank you.